Well, the cold, cloudy days of winter sometimes cause a lot of people to feel depressed, and it's a medical condition called seasonal affective disorder, or SAD. We have psychologist Dr. Sarah Getch, who is here, and she is with the Kansas City University of Medicine and Biosciences. And thank you so much for coming. So let's clear this up. There's a confusion between seasonal affective disorder and winter blues.
Sure.
Help us out.
So it's really important to sort of make this distinction between the two. We know that about 15% of the general population will experience winter blues. And so this is when you're feeling sort of blah. And when you look outside today on a gray, cold day like today, it's easy to feel a little bit blue, right? But we know that only about 1 to 3% of individuals will experience what we call seasonal affective disorder. So seasonal affective disorder is a category of depression. So it has its own specific category because of its onset. And usually people start to feel this way in fall. It onsets in fall, and then it will remit in spring. And because it has this specific pattern, it gets its own name and category. But the symptoms are pretty much the same as major depressive disorder.
What happens to people? What do they feel?
So usually people will feel low energy. They'll feel a sense of sadness or feeling low or down. You're going to see some decreased energy, maybe some fatigue. With seasonal affective disorder, you're going to see some specific things too. So usually in depression, we see weight change. It could go up, it could go down. Seasonal affective disorder, we're going to go up. I know, unfortunate, right? And then also we're going to see a change in sleep, and this change is usually oversleeping, so people are sleeping too much. And so when we think about the difference between winter blues and seasonal affective disorder, the difference really comes in when we start to see how those symptoms are affecting our functioning. So once we see that we're not getting out of bed, we're not able to do our job the way that we used to be able to do our job, we can't take care of ourselves our usual way, maybe even our relationships are starting to be affected, that's when we know that we've moved beyond winter blues and we're sort of into a seasonal affective disorder range.
Well, what can we do? How do we climb out of it, or how can we recognize it in other people and help them through it?
Sure. So anytime you start to see someone and you just sort of, I think it's intuitive a little bit where you say, you just don't seem like your usual self. And that's a really good way to approach somebody too, because it's a caring way to say, I see you and this isn't usually you, right? So we can approach people that way. There are a couple different routes for treatment that we can think about. One route is using medication. So antidepressants, SSRIs, of course you have to work with your primary care physician in order to be able to do that, so there's that. Another route is psychotherapy, and so there we're working with a psychologist and we're going to focus on some of your thoughts, maybe your negative cognitions that are coloring your day to day.
And vitamin supplements is another thing that you
Sure, so we
recommend.
can think about working with vitamin D, obviously, as a supplement. You can also be, your PCP can test you to make sure that you are deficient in that area before you start taking vitamin supplements. And then the other area that's really been effective, literature has shown that using phototherapy or a light box can be really effective for individuals with seasonal affective disorder.
Well, thanks so much for coming and sharing and enlightening us of the difference between the two, and helping us understand how we can cope and feel better. Thanks so much.
Well, thanks for having me.
Gerard?